Centre Sonny Bill Williams has copped a 4-week ban for his hit on Anthony Watson. The All Blacks were reduced to 14 men following the no-arms tackle and ended up losing the game 24-21 in a thrilling second test. Sonny Bill will now take no further part in the series.
Obviously really disappointed, but happy with being able to get in there and say my piece. And it come out that it was, they've come to the conclusion that it was reckless, it wasn't intentional. You know, I've got in contact with Anthony and I apologise to him. But yeah, very disappointed that, you know, I was sent from the field last night and let my brothers down, so.
For me, it was a very clear red card, and I applaud Jerome Garces for making the decision because I think it was a relatively testing one, given the magnitude of the occasion, the size of the crowd, the nature of the test match, the intensity of that situation. It was a straight shoulder to the head, and for me, that's red. It's actually quite straightforward when you strip away all the extraneous stuff, and I think he did the right thing, and I don't think Sonny Bill Williams can have any complaints. You do see it sometimes when you're playing against 14 men. Teams just tend to lose their shape a little bit. I think they become aware that they should be dominating. There should be spaces for them to exploit. And perhaps they try and overplay a little bit. It's a very difficult balance to find. And, of course, it shouldn't make a big difference. A lot of these teams train against 14 men. They train with 14 men for the notion that you might lose a guy to the sin bin at some point or other, or indeed a red card, as happened here. But you do see the dynamics of matches shift a little bit because it tends to play on people's minds. Psychologically, there is a difference to the way the game unfolds. I think they perhaps tried to overplay a little bit too much. I think they got a bit anxious. But the good news from the Lions' perspective was they managed to claw it back, got their act together, and they've got enough senior leaders in that side. They've got a very, very experienced group of players who were able to pull it back because, like you, I think an awful lot of people were looking at it and thinking that they were going to throw it away, this fabulous opportunity. Gatland held firm, backed his instinct, and it came through for him. He did the same here. I really like that axis. Sexton and Farrell worked beautifully together. They dovetailed nicely, offering so many different options, and not just through the ball in hand, of course, with the boot too. I think the criticism probably came because they hadn't played an awful lot on tour together at 10 and 12 up until the second test match, which is a big roll of the dice. They'd had something like 74, 75 minutes together in total across all the warm-up matches. So I think people were left scratching their heads and wondering, well, is this a plan that he always had in place for the second test match, in which case it's a slightly tricky one to follow? Or is it a roll of the dice because the Lions have got to come up with something different? It's worked out. It's brilliant that it's worked out from a Lions perspective. And I would expect that that will be the partnership that you see for the third test in Auckland too.
Well, that was the rugby commentator Alistair Eekin there, clearly under no illusions on just how hard that third test will be for the Lions. Malakai Fekitoa has already replaced Sonny Bill Williams in the All Blacks squad for the deciding test, and both coaches have some big selection decisions to make this week. So let's take a look at what they had to say after the game.
I didn't think we started the game well. I thought they controlled probably the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game, and yeah, we've got to do that better. And you'd have to say that we didn't control the last 15 or so minutes. So there'll be areas we'll look at, but you know, like it's difficult to. You can't say our attack was poor because we didn't have the opportunity to do the things we needed to do because of being a man down. So you can't say that our defence was poor because we gussed it out. But we did, you know, like Izzy will be sitting there thinking he probably should have made that tackle on the first try. But you know, that's rugby, isn't it? You get put under pressure and you miss those things. So we've just got to go away and regroup, get our preparation right, and look forward to next Saturday.
Yeah, we take a huge amount of confidence in terms of. And we stepped up physically, which was a challenge. We scored a couple of nice tries. Obviously, the red card is significant to the All Blacks. And we know in the past and historically what New Zealand teams are like when they lose. You know, they respond, and there's no better example of what happened in Chicago to see what happened in Dublin following that. So we know we're going to be in for an almighty battle in Eden Park next week.